Human beings were made to move. Since the second we existed on Earth, we've had to constantly shift around the surface of our planet, hunting for things, migrating to different places so we didn't freeze our asses off, and running away from predators. Chairs didn't exist, people actually knew how to squat with full mobility and range of motion, and most of our days were spent standing up, searching for our limited means with which to survive. Because of this, standing, and more specifically moving around, became our body's most optimal way to function throughout the day. And so it would reward us for doing this optimal function in many different ways. When we work out, our bodies send us a rush of endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, which are the brain's feel-good neurotransmitters, as a reward for doing the thing we were designed to do. And that's why you feel like a completely different, happier human being after you get a workout in. Knowing these facts, you should want to work out on a daily basis. I mean, it's what our bodies were designed to do. So why don't you? Why is it that some days you feel super motivated to lift weights or run on the treadmill and push through the pain to get that brain chemical reward, and other days the thought of doing any sort of movement fills you with disgust? Then you start making up excuses as to why you can't do it, like, oh, my tummy hurts a little, guess I can't work out, or oh, the sun isn't out today, guess that's a sign I shouldn't work out, and then you really start to slack. I was the same way for the longest time, and I still sometimes am until this day, but I know that if I can just get some sort of exercise in that increases my heart rate, it makes that day infinitely better. So I decided to spend the past month exploring the most common strategies that have been shown to get humans to want to exercise on a more regular basis. And through some external and internal research and experimentation, I've started to have far more motivation and energy to work out, and I'm much more consistent with my lifting routine because of it. What it really boiled down to was 4 reasons, 2 related to doing something physical and 2 related to doing something mental. But all of them are structured around building the momentum needed to make doing the daily exercise almost effortless and removing the barriers that keep you from exercising consistently. You're gonna be surprised with what I found to work. And no, it does not involve you pounding 8 cups of coffee or other sources of caffeine before your workout, or just telling you you need to eat well and get adequate rest. That's been said a million times. The first thing I have found to make the habit of working out daily much easier is changing your physiology in the morning. See, you're not actually tired in the morning, you just haven't woken up yet, and most people do all of the wrong things and think in the wrong way right when they wake up in the morning. It is extremely rare for one to automatically wake up and feel ready to start their day with energy and vigor. I've seen self-help gurus online that claim that they wake up every morning feeling super happy and energetic and ready to start the day. I just don't believe that. Like, I cannot fathom that. You've literally just woken up from a comatose state, having not eaten or drinking anything for hopefully 8 hours. So of course you're gonna feel tired. But when most people, including my past self, wake up in the morning, they tell themselves stuff like, oh, I'm so tired, I must have slept awfully, it's gonna be such a tough day, and that type of mindset just spills into the rest of their day. Now, maybe you truly did not get a good night's sleep, but even if you didn't, just give how you feel for the first hour or 2 of your day absolutely 0 judgment. Do not judge how you feel for the first hour or 2 of your day. Then you can truly determine if this day is going to be tougher than others energy-wise. And even then, it's still possible to get out of that tired slump with exercise. But to get yourself to exercise, maybe you just need a physiological trigger in the morning that makes you realize that you're not actually tired. And for me, that was doing a very light 10-minute mobility and flexibility exercise routine. If you've been with me for the past few months, you'll know that I went through a huge mental breakdown in January due to stress and overworking, and took a break from YouTube. And I outlined the solutions that got me out of that slump, one of which was yoga. But every day I do an even more simplified version of a typical yoga practice. Right when I get up, after drinking about a liter of water, I'll roll myself out using a foam roller and do some exercises that help to flex my spine, shoulders, hamstrings, and most importantly, my hips. This is gonna sound kind of crazy, but it's insane how many stressful emotions are stored in your hips. I'll save you from the boring details, but basically you have these muscles in your body called psoas muscles, and when they are too tight, they affect your adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands regulate your body's response to stress. That means if your hip flexors and muscles within this area are too tight, which they usually are because most people just sit way too much these days, then it's going to be harder for you you to relieve stress. And being more stressed prior to working out makes it far harder for you to find the motivation to work out. After I do this whole sequence of hip openers and stretches that relax these muscles, I can literally feel stressful emotions coming out of my body. And on top of that, this whole routine of course warms you up and wakes your body up and makes you realize that you aren't in fact tired, you just haven't woken up yet. And I'll leave the full routine that I do every morning in the description below. Since the invention of smartphones, I've also always started my day with using my phone immediately when I got up, until I got into the world of self-improvement and I realized how bad it was for me. Then I managed to have the resilience to not use my phone for the first hour or two of being up for maybe around half a year, and then I fell off the wagon for a long time. I gotta say, falling off the wagon is such a huge blessing in disguise because it really makes you appreciate and see just how effective those things that you're slacking on are. And this is the second physical related thing to help you work out more consistently, which is to just not use any sort of electronics as much as possible before your workout. The reason not using your phone or any other sort of electronic upon waking up is so effective at getting you to work out and being motivated to work out is due to a neurotransmitter that we talked about earlier, which is dopamine. When I was doing research for this video, I came across a guy I had seen in my YouTube recommended feed a few times, which was the neuroscientist Andrew Huberman. He has a really amazing 2-hour-long podcast on YouTube for free, all about dopamine and how to use it as a source for long-term motivation instead of having it unnaturally spike every time you instantly gratify yourself. There's a bunch of great information and points he made, but there was one sentence in that podcast that stood out to me the most. Don't spike dopamine prior to engaging in effort, and don't spike dopamine after engaging in effort. Learn to spike dopamine from effort itself. So how does this relate to using your phone first thing in the morning? Well, that is a massive source of unnatural dopamine before you engage in the activity you want to participate in. Dopamine is the motivator chemical, and what you are essentially doing by choosing to use an instant gratification device that can fit in your pocket first thing in the morning is you're draining your limited amount of motivation you have daily. And it made so much sense because every time before the gym, when I used my phone way too much, I didn't have the dopamine I needed to motivate me to go to the gym. Or I just failed to release as much dopamine when thinking about going to the gym. Ideally, you'd want to limit all of these things that produce a ridiculously unnatural spike of dopamine both before and after your workout, but what's really important for this video is before. The actual process of doing something that doesn't produce immediate results and instead provides long-term fulfillment should be what releases dopamine in your brain. So use this tip as well and see how much easier it feels to want to go to the gym. Now, before we get into the mental related things, which will probably be the most beneficial to you, I do want to highlight something that I briefly brought up just because it is that important, and that is having a consistent sleep schedule and getting enough sleep. If you are struggling with sleep, it might not just be due to things that I've described in previous videos like why you can't get out of bed in the morning, but also some sort of nutrient deficiency that affects your sleep quality. And one of the biggest nutrient deficiencies related to that is magnesium. One thing that has been massively helping my sleep quality is supplementing with magnesium using Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. When we talk about beating stress, fatigue, and getting better sleep, we rarely talk about the minerals that are related to all three of those, and magnesium is one of the biggest ones to that. There are many magnesium supplements out there, but the reason that I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough is because it blends all 7 essential forms of magnesium into one effective supplement. A lot of these magnesium supplements that you see on the market are very sus, and they fail because they use synthetics or preservatives in them. And I haven't seen any other magnesium supplement that blends all of these 7 essential forms of magnesium. And when you get all 7 critical forms of magnesium, this affects your mood, your sleep, your stress quality, and also it can affect your testosterone levels. Yes, this has been shown. So I think I've been taking Magnesium Breakthrough for a few months now, and ever since I have, I just feel like much more relaxed during the night because that's when they suggest you take it, and magnesium as a mineral actually works as a muscle relaxer, and that's why, you know, it helps with your stress as well and getting you to go to bed. But yeah, I have felt like my sleep quality has improved quite a bit since I've been taking it. So if you are interested in getting Magnesium Breakthrough, then you can go to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/Cole, or you can use my coupon code COLE10 and that'll get you 10% off your order. To find that link, it's in the description, or you can check out the pinned comment. Thank you to Bioptimizers for sponsoring this video. So now let's talk about the first mental related thing to help you, which are mental cues. I want you to imagine two scenarios. The first one is probably pretty similar to your current situation. You wake up to a slightly messy room, put on your sweatpants, and immediately start scrolling through Instagram. You have some breakfast, go to work, and then get home and are feeling exhausted. When you get home, the easiest things to slip into are video games, or binging YouTube videos, or eating a bag of chips. So that's what you do. Then there's scenario number 2. You wake up to a nice clean room with no distractions, do the physical things I described earlier in this video, have breakfast, go to work, and are still feeling exhausted after a long day. But the video games are put away. The computer has restrictions on it, so you can't go on YouTube, and the chips have been stashed in a place where you usually don't reach for them. The easiest thing for you to gravitate towards is actually your workout clothes, which were lined up on your bed that morning before you went to work. And next to your bed is a whiteboard where you've been keeping your streak for going to the gym consistently. In this scenario, this person has the right mental cues. What the second person has done is they have combined the teachings of two great books on building the right habits, which are Atomic Habits by James Clear and The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. What you first must do is increase the friction between you and the things that are stopping you from going to the gym, and reduce the friction between you and the things that will make you go to the gym easier. This is something that was described in Atomic Habits. And you do this by hiding the cues, which is something described in The Power of Habit, which cause you to take part in the unwanted activities that produce the reward of a huge spike in dopamine and other pleasurable chemicals in the brain. Once you replace the visual cues of video games, junk food, and YouTube right when you get home with you being able to see your workout clothes all lined out and your daily habit tracker on the whiteboard, these get you to do the fulfilling activity, which is working out, that still produce the same sort of reward, and you start to make going to the gym a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes almost effortless. So the problem isn't the reward itself that you get from doing these instantly gratifying things like eating chips or playing video games right after work. We need those chemicals that are released to be released in order to function optimally. It's just the routine that you partake in that makes these chemicals come out in an unnatural way, in a much less fulfilling way. So change the mental cues using the things I've described, and those will help you to replace your usual routine, and you'll still get all that dopamine and serotonin you usually get from playing video games, but from a much more enriching source. And this leads me to my next mental related thing, because so many people still see working out as such a daunting, negative task and truly do not realize the amount of good that comes from it. And I think that mental barrier stops people from working out way more than they think it does. The other night I was hanging out with this guy who I had just met, and we were going back and forth about working out and lifting weights, and he was telling me how he just could not stay consistent. He would only go to the gym every so often. He said, yeah man, it's just so hard to get there and do all that stressful work of lifting the weights and getting all sweaty and all that. Then he came up with a really terrible excuse. He said, I feel like working out gives me less time to work on my career and my job. And then he told me it really wasn't motivating at all to see almost no progress in several months. So I immediately stopped him and I told him, that is absolutely false, dude. Everything you just said. Firstly, spending 1 hour doing some sort of exercise daily will allow you to have far more energy to do your work because your brain will be functioning at such a higher level. Secondly, you are looking at the results from a very one-dimensional point of view. Instead of just focusing on the strength or physique progress, which are of course important, start to measure other forms of feedback that aren't visual. How much more energy do you have throughout the day? How much better is your digestion? How much happier do you feel? How much longer are you able to work at your job without getting tired? All of these are just as important feedback as your body changing in some physical way, and they usually happen more immediately than those physical changes. And yet most people choose not to pay attention to them because they're not the cooler, more outwardly admirable parts of working out. But those things that I just listed off are the things that really make going to the gym or working out consistently worth it in the end. Instead of saying, oh great, I have to work out today, say, oh awesome, I get to work out today. And already that mental shift produces a much more positive reaction, which will cause the physical reaction that you need to get your ass up and go to the gym or do your workout at home. And that's when everyone in the room was staring at me with a really weird look, and he told me he never wanted to talk to me again, and he kicked me out of his birthday party. Okay, that didn't actually happen, but remember this. The hardest part is always starting. After those first 5 minutes of your workout, you go and you finish your workout. It always happens, doesn't it? You know that, so keep that in mind. Lastly, I just want to end this with one quote, because I know you self-help guys, you love putting quotes in the comments and reading them and being like, holy, that's a crazy quote. And that quote is, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. There were a whole lot of resources in this video, from the books that I mentioned to my exercise routine to the magnesium supplement. It's all going to be linked in the description below. And thank you to all my patrons on this channel on Patreon. This is a platform where I'm putting out exclusive content, and you can talk to me one-on-one over the phone on there. If you want to check that out, patreon.com/ColeHastings in the description as well. That's it for this video. If you are interested in more working out related videos, check out this one. I go over my new workout routine that is super simple, and that is it. Thank you guys. Love ya. Peace.